Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
So I stepped out the back door and fell down the stairs. The sunlight hit me dead in the eye, like it's mad that I gave half the day to last night. My bad sight made me trip on my ass right into that.
Welcome everyone to another spectacular episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Oh boy. Today on Thrive Loud, we have the chief scientist of workplace culture for Culture Partners, leading research and strategy and best practices driving results through culture. With data, humor, and energy, she's a disruptive thought leader on culture transformation that companies need to build organizational success. She's coming to us from a little house on the river in Sacramento. She asked me to say her name like this. Thrive Loud listeners, Dr. Jessica Kriegel. Doctor, welcome to Thrive Loud, Jessica.
I was being slightly sarcastic, but I do actually like the way that sounds. So thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I don't know anything about sarcasm. I grew up in a family with nonstop jokesters from Brooklyn, New York. And what are you going to know? It's just not even in my DNA. But I will let you know that I'm excited to be here today. We are in the middle of making work better. That's what this month has been all about. Lots of people who are focused on improving the workplace environment. Here's what I want to do, Jessica. I don't want to go all the way back to the womb. We could if we have to. But I want to go back and understand how this became your focus. More importantly, how this became your gig.
Good question. Well, I was working at Oracle, a large technology company, and living my best life. I was doing training consulting and absolutely adored my job. I was working from home. This was back in 2008 and was getting paid very fairly. It was just, I was in bliss in my work and in my role. And I had my very first performance evaluation with my manager at the time, who I was sure was going to just adore me with accolades and give me a massive raise and tell me how awesome I was, because I was doing very well. And I was told that I got a 2 out of 3 on interpersonal skills in that performance evaluation. I was absolutely shocked, and I asked for more information, and I said, well, tell me more about that. What exactly is it that makes me not a 3 out of 3 on interpersonal skills? And she said, you're like one of those millennials. You just need to bake a little bit longer. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew that I hated her and I hated my job instantly. And I was I went from the most highly engaged employee to the most disengaged employee, because I was in that moment convinced that I worked in a toxic culture, which wasn't necessarily true. I was just very sensitive, and very early in my career, you might say I needed to bake a little bit longer. She probably had a good point, but I became passionate about culture in that moment. And actually, because I got checked out of my job, I decided to go back to school, got a doctoral degree in leadership, and I decided to study millennials as my dissertation research, in which I found some really interesting things, wrote a book. Keynoting career just emerged out of that, and here we are.
All right. Before I go any further, was she right? Were you a 2 out of 3 back then?
Totally. I think I'm still a 2 out of 3. Yeah, but I wasn't ready to hear it, and certainly not like that. So, we all have experiences, and those experiences help us grow and learn. That was mine. And you know what? It was a great moment, obviously, because it led to where we are now.
So let's talk about culture. Because this is one of the, and I love the fact that you're the chief scientist of workplace culture. So because it's like taking things that we think are maybe amorphous and maybe a little bit woo-woo-y, and
Totally.
something we can't put a real concrete structure around, to something that has a process and a system here, which is what you're focused on. So let's ask this first question. Can we put steps and processes together to develop a really engaging, connecting culture?
Absolutely, we can. I would As your chief scientist of culture, if I were working for you right now, I would say, but before we do that, let's figure out if engaging and connecting is what we actually need or want. A lot of workplace culture people are people that love people, and they are maybe in the HR field, and they care about organizational psychology because they want to make people happy and they want them to thrive. And that's not me. I do care about those things, but a lot of those workplace culture speakers or consultants, they're passionate about having capitalism work for people, and they're very motivational in nature, and they say things that we as employees want to hear. And I come at it from the other angle. So my work is not about what makes people happy, but what makes businesses win. And I want to be completely data driven in that. So I'm not going to come in and help your organization get motivated to do the right thing. I'm going to come into your organization and help you figure out what will win and get us the results so that we can keep living our mission as an organization, so that we can have a bunch of people who are really excited about being here, sure, but primarily so that we keep winning. And what I have found is when I come at it from that angle, which isn't how my career started, right? I started with, we got to do the right thing. And I found that a lot of people ignored me. When I came at it from the data angle, though, after I did my quantitative research, so many more people listened, so many more people empower, and I was able to make more of an impact. And so that's my approach, is how do we win? And then once we figure out how we win, let's set up the system and the steps and processes to do that at scale.
Jessica, I'm going to hit you with this. What does winning look like?
It depends on what your key results are. So that's the first question. What most culture people will do is they'll work with an organization and they'll start by trying to dig up drama. They'll talk to the executives and ask them, what's not working? What would you do differently if you were CEO? They'll send out surveys and ask open-ended questions that get people to highlight the brokenness of your culture, whatever's not working for you. And then they'll synthesize the themes and all of that data, and they'll present you a massive laundry list of what's not working and what needs to be fixed. And then they'll give you a proposal that says, we'll fix all of this for the low price of $10 million. And they'll do it through training and development and awareness campaigns and various programs that, the problem with programs is that they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so you're seeing a lot of really great ideas of programs like DEI right now is dying. It's dying because it was a program. It wasn't a part of the culture that many organizations live. So what we do is not about let's figure out what's broken. It's what does winning look like? We get super clear on that. We get the team aligned on that. And then we hold everyone accountable to that by activating a culture that will work to drive those results. And those are the steps in a nutshell.
Okay. So organizations have been saying their most valuable resource is their people. Do we agree on that? I think we agree on that.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in the knowledge economy. That wasn't true 40 years ago, right? Now, though, I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
Okay, so we know that, and the number one persisting problem that companies will tell you is retaining their people. Do you think that's still true today? That's the number one problem?
No, I would give some color to that. I think it's retaining their top people. That's the number one challenge. It's really easy to attract and retain talent. It's hard to attract and retain the best talent. And you actually see many things that organizations are doing today to actively lose people, like forcing people back in the office and creating policies that make people want to leave. Organizations that enact those policies are hoping that you leave because they are overemployed right now, and they're trying to find an easy, low liability way of getting rid of talent. And they're not doing that with their top talent. They are leaning into their top talent in that organization and saying, what can we do to keep you? And they're leaning into top talent that they're trying to attract and say, what can we get to have you over here? And that is the biggest challenge.
So retaining your top talent, biggest challenge. Winning, top priority. You mentioned this earlier. Being happy might not necessarily be that top priority. My question is, can you be happy and still win? Yes. let me back up. We want people to be happy. We want people to be fulfilled in the work that they're doing. We want them to have meaning. And that has to be the outcome
of a culture that is driving results by activating the right culture to win, it cannot be the end goal. Because when you think the goal is to make people happy, then you throw things at your organization that do not have an ROI, that do not support the bottom line, like kombucha Thursdays in the break room and ping pong tables in the lobbies and Hawaiian shirt Fridays. And that will make people happy, but you're also going to go out of business, right? And I think you're seeing right now stories of organizations that have historically been very people oriented, like REI. They have lots of perks and benefits, and they're very people focused, but they have been losing money for 2 years in a row in a really severe way. And so is their culture working for them? I would argue their culture is complacent right now and needs to be reinvented. Our research with Stanford last year was looking at all the different culture types to identify which one actually wins. There was only one culture type that was significantly correlated with revenue growth over the course of time. People-oriented cultures was not it. It was actually adaptive cultures, cultures that are able to shift in and out of people orientation, right? In and out of innovation, in and out of transparency, whatever the culture soup du jour is right now. Every culture book you read is an opinion about the best culture. That may have been the best culture for that company at that time with that executive and that strategy. But really, the winning tool is being able to shift culture, which is enormously hard, especially at scale.
Yeah, I was going to say adapting is winning. That's like change. The only thing consistent in life is change. And
right.
I worked on Wall Street for a very long period of time. Where make it clear. The only thing that mattered was winning financially. The only thing that mattered every single year was how big that bonus pool was. I don't care what anybody would tell you otherwise, whether you were happy or you were productive or whatever it was, or how happy your clients were. Your clients were happy if you made money. So the issues where that falls flat is in that particular time, in that particular culture, there was no other place where you could work for somebody else and get paid more money than working on Wall Street. That is not true today. The deviation of money has been spread out into many different industries, making it a really difficult sell in finance to get people to do that particular job and like what they're doing, because a lot of people weren't happy in the work they did, and those caused a lot of problems. I want to put this into the area that you're most familiar with. You're not too far away from the tech center of the world, who has been dominating every aspect of the size of the largest companies out there today. Okay. One of the things I would say is, and I'm going to just ask it, do you think there's a lot of great people, a lot of top people in that space? You think more of them are happy or not today?
So I spent my entire career in tech. I was at Oracle for a decade. I left and became the CHRO of a small tech startup in Silicon Valley. Here's what I noticed. Some of the most successful people that I worked for at the top of their game, Sean Price, Mark Hurd, they died very early in their life due to diseases that I think a lot of people might think are stress related. And I remember being involved in one of the biggest projects in the history of tech, Oracle's move from an on-prem company to a cloud company. I was leading strategic planning for the head of cloud at Oracle. And the calls at 3 a.m. were regular. We need you right now to get on a plane and fly 25 hours to this place was not unusual. And so that doesn't work over the long haul. It doesn't work over the long haul. Now, Oracle had its best year ever last year. But those two particular leaders that I worked for, who was the co-CEO and the head of cloud at the time, they're no longer with us. Oracle continues. Now, Oracle also has a lot of leaders who have a long tenure. I'm not saying Oracle has a toxic culture by any means. What I'm saying is everyone needs to understand where their boundaries are in work, right? And some people love overworking, and that's what allows them to thrive. I have been that person. I've been that person in a healthy way and an unhealthy way, and we come and go from balance, and that's okay, right? But people's role in this work-life balance dance is understanding where the line is and being able to put that, because corporations are not going to do that for you, and I don't think that they should be responsible. Ultimately, everyone is responsible for themselves.
We would never suggest on this program for our guests to drink Kool-Aid, especially when they're wearing really gorgeous top white jackets like Dr. Jessica Kriegel is wearing. But in the spirit of drinking Kool-Aid and sipping it with a straw, just to be careful, Are you at Culture Partners practicing what you preach and trying to figure out, understanding what you're doing in the way that you work and how that can translate into winning?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say we drink the Kool-Aid more than all of our clients because we know that the system works. We've been in business for 36 years now. Having said that, that doesn't mean that we don't have culture issues, right? What we do as at Culture Partners is we help activate how people think and act to drive results. That's what we do. And we have a system. We have adopted that system 100%, and everyone is totally committed to walking the walk. One of our cultural beliefs is all about living our journey to lead their journey. So we have to be able to do it in order to talk to our clients about it. We also learn from doing that. Okay, but we still have culture issues. There's still conflict management. There's still groups that trust and don't trust other groups. And it's like every organization does. We're not kumbaya people. We're not trust fall people. That's not the culture that we are practicing. And so if you're thinking that that's what we're doing, is that we're going to get everyone to never have a problem with anyone else in the organization, go find someone who does trust falls or ropes courses, right? That's not what we're about. We get results. And so, yes, and here's what that looks like is the way I would answer that.
Well played, by the way. I love asking the self-analysis question to the scientists to see if they're drinking the science and all that stuff like that. Okay.
We're drinking the science, yes.
You're drinking the science. Well, sometimes you need to literally chug it down, because I think this is the real challenge, is that when you come into an organization and you give the recommendations, it's never easy for anyone to take criticism, comments, issues. Take the young version of yourself getting a 2 out of 3. And thinking that feedback was, really harmful, and I'm going to go figure out what to do next, right? Anytime we hear other people suggesting ways that we can do well, because what can happen, and this is where I'm going with this question, sometimes an organization has an area that's winning and another part of the organization that's not. But you can't just have culture change in the area that's not versus the one that is. And now you have a situation where we were winning. We've got happy people. We're making money. We're hitting our goals. We're achieving record stuff. But this particular division isn't doing the same. Well, are we not working together? We should be separate companies. How do you help an organization that is vast and large enough that the culture might not be pervasive and fluid across all of its numerous entities, and it might not actually make sense? There might be different cultures within. Is that something you might find out?
Yeah, I mean, there's always subcultures, microcultures, and that's okay. We're not trying to get everyone to be homogenous with an organization. We're trying to get everyone to think and act in a way that will drive results, whatever those results mean. And those results are different for marketing as they are for sales, as they are for products, as they are for, all the different teams. At its simplest form, to nail down how to go about activating culture to drive results, we use a framework called the results pyramid. And so it always, like I said, starts with results. What are you trying to achieve? Let's get clarity on that. Those results need to be meaningful, measurable, and memorable. So we come up with metrics, numbers that we will know we've won if we get this goal. So no one is unclear about what those key results are. And then we understand where results come from. Results come from actions. Duh, right? Everyone knows that. And that's where most leaders stop. They know results come from actions, so they focus on actions. Let's get people to do this. If I'm the head of sales, I'm going to focus on how many cold calls did you do? How did the cold calls go? Did you track the cold calls in Salesforce? Let's get AI to look at the cold calls and tell us what we can learn from your cold calls, right? And that activity focus is what leads to burnout. It's what leads to people leaving the organization. It doesn't work. That's what returning to office movement is all about. It's like, we can't track activity anymore. We got to get people back in the office so we can track activity. It's not going to work. Newsflash. So we go deeper. Where do actions come from? How do you get people to give a hoot about their job, which is the name of my TED Talk, actually. How do you get people to give a hoot? Except it's not hoot. It's an S word that I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say on your podcast.
You can fucking say whatever you'd like on.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So the TED Talk is called How to Get People to Give a Shit. And the way you get people to give a shit is you understand what motivates our action. What motivates our action is the beliefs we hold about us, our role in the company, the value of what we're doing, whether my teammates have my back, all of that. leads to our actions. And so that's where we start. We figure out what your results are that you want to achieve. And then we ask, what are the commonly held shared beliefs that are getting in the way of you achieving those results? And what do those beliefs need to be? Once you identify proactively what your beliefs need to be, you can intentionally create experiences that will help shape those beliefs, because all beliefs come from experiences. So it's all about experience creation at work, and some simple experiences that don't involve a big technology implementation or some big investment is, what feedback do you give each other? How do you recognize each other? What stories are being told? All of those are examples of experiences that will shape beliefs, that will get the actions you need in order to get results. And at its basic level, that's what we're activating when we activate culture. That may or may not lead to more connection, right? Some organizations need to be more siloed, more bureaucratic, more, the opposite of what you hear are best practices when you read those books. And that's okay, because it works for the strategy for that organization at that time.
I just like the fact that Jessica thought she couldn't drop the S word on this term.
Well, wasn't sure. You can't always. I've been asked not to curse before.
We literally had a guest on the show 3 weeks ago who said, I should be effing dead or whatever it was. And I was like, how come we're not saying you're fucking dead? But no big deal. Or no real shit, just bullshit, and keep moving on. So you're totally good, Jessica. All right. So I'm going to ask this question because obviously, like, you speak on stage, and thank you for being such a player here as I'm pushing stuff back. I do want to make this comment about certain cultures. I've had the blessing of working in lots of different companies throughout my career and consulting in different areas, and getting a chance to work in some healthcare organizations to see that their credo about literally saving lives, like that's what they do, is in every single human that is in this organization. And you can feel it, and it works. And it's why they continue to win in billions of dollars and every year. And you see it, and it's just, they have a very, very specific hiring model, which I don't necessarily know I would qualify for. But all of it is really, really cool to see when you have something that's so deep over the years. And not every company has it, which makes they're trying to get to that level, or trying to get to it. And I think that's why we need people that can really break it down. And I love that you guys have an approach, a scientific approach at that might be. Anyway, as I was about to ask, you speak, you write, you help these companies do all these things. You wear lots of different hats. Is there a hat, Jessica, that you like wearing more often than not each day when you wake up? Is there one activity you like doing more than another?
I love keynote speaking. That's where I spend most of my time, and it's what I love to do. Why do I love to do that? Because think about the results pyramid I just shared with you, right? That ultimately what changes people's beliefs is experiences. And one of the most simplest experiences that you can have is hearing a story. And that's what keynote speaking is. It's telling stories. And in order to be able to keynote speak, I need to be able to tell true stories about what happened with our clients and highlight moments of transformation and the impact that it had. And so there's so much prep work. I've never given the same keynote twice. It changes every single time. I'm one of those people that at any given time in my career, if I look at the keynote I gave a year ago, I'm horribly embarrassed, right? Because it changes and evolves so much that I always am my biggest critic. And the research, the consulting, the stuff that goes into the creation of the perfect keynote, which will never exist, right? It's about the journey, not the destination. But there is this goal of the perfect keynote. That's what I find the most fun. And then getting to meet, keynote speaking is not as sexy as it may seem to people who are not keynote speaking, because what you're doing is you're not always in Hawaii. First of all, you're in Ohio and like Orlando and Vegas most of the time. And then
Kalamazoo, Michigan, for the record.
Yeah,
that was the most recent. I'm going to Ithaca on Monday. So I've got lovely places that I go to. Yeah, hell yeah.
There you go. There you go. And you're speaking to the most random associations. We have a joke in my household, which is, going to go speak to the International Association of Salt Shaker Makers. It's not like South by Southwest every time either. I have literally spoken at the Association of Dressings and Sauces, which
That's
was
amazing.
hysterical. It's a bunch of sauce people, and so that is interesting because you get to see people who are deeply passionate about a very specific thing and understanding like what's going on with dressings these days, like what's on your mind, CEOs of 500 dressing organizations. It's fascinating. I learn a little bit every time, and it's a little bit fun.
I'd say it's a lot of fun. I imagine also I like the humor there. I would like to hear I'd love to see what they serve at the dressings during lunch. There actually are no sides because they don't want to offend anybody because they can't handle all 500 sides. They basically no. You want anything on your burger? Nope. You're going to have it plain. Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing on top. No
Everyone
toppings.
has their own condiment.
Right.
Yeah.
We should open up every one of their own knapsacks or purses and see what's inside over here. Like, oh, look at this. I took this from another person. The samples must be amazing. Anyway, I digress.
Oh,
okay, Dr.
totally.
Jessica. Let's do the admin part of the show because we're going to have an extended version of Fun Street here. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, websites, URLs, social handles. We'll put it in the show notes. Gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Okay, great. It's jessicakriegel.com, Kriegel. And I have a weekly newsletter on LinkedIn called This Week in Culture. If you follow me on LinkedIn, follow the newsletter and you'll get updates every week. I also have a daily podcast called Culture Leaders, and it's 5 minutes every day. What's trending in the world of culture. I have some interviews sometimes, and also just, trending topics that you need to know if you care about culture. And then if you're interested in Culture Partners, go to culturepartners.com.
I love people who have the plug section done because they do it on the show and they're doing it in their own thing. It just comes off like water. I love it. Okay. Dr. Jessica, you ready to hit Fun Street with me here on Thrive Loud?
I'm so excited.
She is. You can tell she's beaming. Listeners, check out the video and you're going to go see. I'm getting this white jacket, by the way. I want to put the white jacket on top. I will look very Miami Vice. It'll work really good.
Well, thank you. It's Veronica Beard. So if you're looking for it, there it is.
There you go. We will tag her in the show notes here. So
yeah, please tag Veronica Beard. Veronica Beard, please send me some coupons.
Or outfits for that matter. Anyway, okay. Yeah. Can you share with the listeners what's maybe one of your all-time favorite movies or one that if it's on, you love to rewatch?
So Jackass. Sorry, it's just hysterical. I cannot get over how much I laugh when I watch Jackass.
Okay, 1,000 plus episodes later, that is a first, by the way.
Is it really? I mean, I will never forget how hard I laughed the first time I saw Jackass in theaters. It's still one of my favorite memories.
Did you watch it when, they had the TV show? It was like an MTV
Yeah,
thing.
I watched the TV show. The movie came out and I was all about it. And I mean, Jackass 4 just recently came out. It was the reunion. What's interesting is I like the slapstick comedy, the, physical comedy, but I also like the dynamic of these friends who are torturing each other, but they signed up for it and they're all in on it. I just love that. It makes me happy to see.
I love it. All right, we're going to do the speed round here. We call it the Speakeasy Pub Crawl, where we take a shot of gumption, head on down Fun Street, and we stop at all the favorite places that Jessica Kriegel loves to stop at because these are the things that matter most to her. So here we go. Jessica, of late, a song that you love to listen to or one that's your jam, or maybe one that you walk on to stage with. Maybe that one we'll use.
Oh, I don't have a walk-on song. Sunshine by Atmosphere is just my favorite, has been for decades.
I was just thinking, like, what could her possible walk-on song be? We're going to have to call Oasis, something culture-related. Okay.
Okay, please let me know if you come up with it.
Oh, we're really good over here. We do that stuff. A favorite food that is not a dessert?
Bread and butter. There's nothing better than bread and butter.
Wow. Favorite dessert?
Cheesecake with raspberry coulis.
Is your cheesecake more like the Italian cheesecake or more like that Philadelphia, more cream cheesy cheesecake?
Cream cheesy cheesecake. Yeah, like New York cheesecake. I'm a New Yorker, so, I'm biased.
Gotcha. An activity you wish you did more of?
Dancing.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Working.
The chief scientist of workplace culture doesn't want to be working as much. Okay.
I just want to work less. I work a lot.
I gotcha. A new activity, one that's new to you that you liked so much, recently tried, and want to tell everybody else to try.
I just recently, as a 40-something-year-old adult, started to learn the piano. And It's opening my mind to a brand new language of the world that is stimulating my thoughts in new creative ways. So highly recommend it.
Had you ever played a musical instrument before?
I took a couple years of violin and guitar when I was young, but not recently.
All right, very cool. If I could snap my fingers and Dr. Jessica Kriegel could be anywhere in the world, where is she?
I'd be right here in my home with my cats and my dog, ready for my daughter to come home from school. This is the place,
get this.
Man.
She, as I said in the opening, she lives in a little house on the river in Sacramento. I've been to Sacramento. I've been on the TV station a couple times for both my books, which is a ton of fun over there. Corky, what's his name? Corky, is that his name? The morning guy on whatever it is on the NBC show. I'll get his name in a minute.
I don't watch local news. I don't watch the news actually. So.
But your town is lovely, by the way. Really cool stuff. There was a
Thank
fun
you.
festival.
I got a lot of redwoods in my backyard, and it's very lovely.
So with that, you said you're originally East Coast. You live on the West Coast. There used to be songs about this, like "Don't do one more than the other." What do you miss from the East Coast? Start with that.
Okay, so when I was a senior in high school, and I knew I was going to be leaving. The thing that I thought would be devastating to me is I remember Christmas Eve at 2 a.m. we ran out of orange juice, and I was able to walk across the street and get some. And I thought that easy access to anything at any time is going to be so devastating to not have. Turns out it's not at all devastating to not have, but I do miss that everything is available to you in New York City thing, right? Like I got 2 museums out here. We've done them. We're a little bit bored with those museums. You know, you can never get bored in New York, and I miss that a little bit.
Okay. What do you not love about being on the West Coast?
Not love about the West Coast? It's 105 degrees yesterday. I mean, it easily gets to 110 for a week or two every summer. It's a little bit hot. I'm not super into that.
Not very good hair day, at least maybe not for you. I don't have that problem. Dr. Jessica Kriegel, thanks so much for coming on Thrive Loud. This has been awesome stuff. I love this process, and I also love your passion. I like that I could jar a little bit here to talk with you, which I think I knew you could not only handle, but also really provide a cool way of how you guys are approaching changing, adjusting, or adapting culture as needed. Very, very cool stuff. Continue doing what you're doing. The world needs more views out there.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the research-backed questions. I loved how prepared you were. It was a pleasure.
There was no research-backed questions. I just asked this off the top of my head. I mean, that's how we work.
Questions.
I didn't research any of them. Thanks again. Anyway, to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
Whoa, let it shine. Whoa, let it shine. Whoa, let it shine. Whoa, let it.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.